What's up, everybody? Welcome for another episode. Special guest tonight is top Atlanta photographer Mark Lee of Mark Lee Photography. Hope everybody's had a good week. We are going to have a good interview tonight. And then we'll get it popping. What's up, Coco Loves? What's up, Nanny? Coco Loves in the house. Nanny in the house. What's up, y'all? Hope y'all been having a nice week. Crazy thing going on in the sports world until Mark Lee gets in the room. Kevin Durant wants out of Brooklyn. And we don't know where he's going. Do y'all know where he's going? Y'all have any ideas about where that brother's going? I am Coco Loves. I am ready for that. Type in the date that's going to. We have luminaries in the room tonight. We have Coco Loves, and we have Real Talk with Denny. Mark Lee.
What's up, sir?
What it do?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. I'm doing well, man. Thank you for joining me tonight, man.
Thank you for the invite. I appreciate the honor of being on the show, Taj.
Oh, you're welcome, man. The honor's all mine.
All right,
For those
all right.
that are just entering the room, we are here with top Atlanta photographer Mark Lee Photography. Mark, can you break it down, man? Who is Mark Lee?
Hopefully he's a pretty decent guy. I'm just trying to be a good person. Shout out to MF Griff for his inspiration for that line. I'm just a guy, dude, taking on challenge after challenge, trying to get better as a person and trying to get better at several different things. Photography is one of those things I picked up as an amateur, did not know anything about it, didn't know what I was doing, and I just kept working at it, trying to get better and better.
Okay. Take us back a little bit, Mark. You are originally from where?
I was born in Miami, Florida.
Mm-hmm.
My family moved here in the, I think, mid to late 70s, basically, and I've been in Atlanta ever since. So I claim Atlanta as my hometown, but like most people, I moved here, but have been here so long to claim it.
Yeah,
My
no
wife
doubt.
is the one person I know who was actually born here.
Okay. Are your parents from Miami as well?
Yes, my mom and dad. My dad still lives there. My mom is here in Atlanta in the Alpharetta area.
Okay. One of the reasons that for those that don't know, one of the reasons I'm really excited to have Mark on the show is I'm a big photography fan.
Wow.
Big
Okay.
fan of Gordon Parks, Annie Leibovitz, just like really good photography, man. And I love your eye.
Thank you.
And one of the things that, if you haven't seen Mark's work, go to @MarkLeePhoto. I love the way you do landscapes, model photography, and your use of shadows and everything, all of that. But we'll get into that, man.
All right.
You moved to Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Where'd you go to college?
Went to Morris Brown College. Shout out to Morris Brown. We're back, baby.
Moby.
Accreditation
Yes.
re-earned.
Yes. Went to Moby.
Yep.
You majored in chemistry. Is that right?
That is correct.
Okay. How did you decide chemistry, bro?
So, it was basically a high school thing. So, starting probably as a child, I always wanted to be in some area of science. A little proclivity for solving problems, doing the math associated with those problems. And I think in many communities, one of the highest callings you could ever have that we were told was to be a doctor or a lawyer, etc. And so I was on that path, and I decided that chemistry was the best for me. That happened by mistake. I was in a chemistry class in high school, and I didn't even know what chemistry was. I didn't know chemistry was supposed to be hard. So I just went into it with an open mind, and it's like, I'll just learn it. I walked into class one day, we had a test, and I didn't remember we had a test scheduled. I got 100 on that test, and I was like, wow, chemistry must like me. And so I was like, maybe I like chemistry. So I took second year chemistry. And then when it came to going to college, my doctors at the time were both Harvard Medical School grads, and the husband and wife team, the husband majored in chemistry and the wife majored in biology. And she said that she had to go to him more for help than he had to come to her. So that also helped me make my decision.
Oh, that's what's up, bro.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's up. Back who were your primary influences in terms of photography? Like did you stumble when? I guess a better question is, when did you fall in love with photography?
So my oldest daughter is 25, and I started shooting photography when my wife was pregnant with her. I just wanted the images in my home or of my family to be better than what I thought Olin Mills could do or Walmart could do or whatever. And
Mm-hmm.
so I just decided to just take it on. I honestly went through rolls and rolls of film, not knowing what I was doing. And then eventually some of my stuff started showing up on the walls in the camera store that I used to go to. And at that point, I started entering contests and started basically letting people know I was available if they were looking for a photographer.
What was your first serious camera?
My first serious camera was a Minolta 7SI. I don't even remember what that was, but it was a film camera. I spent $1,500 on it, and it was the most expensive thing I'd ever bought, I think, at the time.
Okay. And what do you shoot? What do you shoot with now?
So film eventually went through kind of obviously being too expensive to continue, etc. So I went to digital back in the early, probably 2000s, and I shoot with a Nikon D850 now, which is a pretty high-end camera capable of doing almost everything I need, and so I really enjoy it. I also have a Fuji X100V, which is a smaller camera that's more for street photography and more casual shooting.
Okay, okay. So, who were your primary influences in the photography world, if you had any?
Oh, absolutely. You mentioned Gordon Parks. You mentioned Annie Leibovitz. Those are definitely some big inspirations. Gordon Parks, to me, if I had to pattern myself after someone, he would definitely be someone I would seek to do that because he was good at so many things, and
Yes.
I'm trying to be very good at so many things. And so his documentary is actually the reason why I bought that last camera, and he inspired me to consider a couple of book projects. I mean, Gordon Parks was the man. If I could do a tenth of what he did, I'd be pretty proud.
Oh my God, man, he was a genius, wasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Well before his time.
I mean, dude, his series on Americana that he shot. I have a book. I think it's called Harlem 1954
Yes, sir.
that he shot, which is great, man. Of course, the Learning Tree,
Yes.
and just everything that he did was just amazing. Writing books, so we're all in
Movies.
yeah, movies. We just inspired. He's just a giant, man.
Yeah.
Um, Tell us about your professional life now.
So let me say it this way. I work in higher education at a local institution that is an HBCU for women. I won't go into specifics, but that's where I work.
Got it. Got it. Got
Yeah.
it. I really like the work that you do with the still life sessions.
Thank you.
It's
That's been my passion for the last year and a half, maybe 2 years.
dude, it's amazing. It's amazing. For
Thank you.
those that are in Atlanta and don't know what still life sessions are, and those that are outside of Atlanta and don't know, can you explain what still life sessions is?
Yeah. So for me, I'll have to say, I'd like to start with the origin. The origin for me was called Art Mondays at Apache Cafe. And Apache Cafe is one of those landmark, almost institutions in Atlanta in the art and entertainment community, from live shows to you name it. I mean, it was a hub. And another AU Center grad established that establishment. So
Mm-hmm.
anyway, I would go there on Art Mondays, and there was figure drawing, and that's where I met some of my photography buddies. I kind of honed some of what you see there at Apache. One of my photography buddies, his name is Costello Knight,
Okay.
showed me how to set my camera to get those dark tones because I saw his camera. He was doing that dark tone. And that was one of the things I didn't like about digital cameras. They weren't giving me the same deep shadows that I was getting in film. But I realized then I didn't know how to set my camera to maximize that capability.
Mm.
And Costello showed me how to do that. I did a few shots and I loved them. That was probably 10 years ago. And then, life happens, COVID happens. I started reaching out to try to get back into the photography community a bit. And still life was getting active. And then I was curious, are you guys masking up? Is it safe? And they were like, yeah. And so Tom Best and Salakita, his wife, were the are the organizers as far as I understand. And when I went, I was welcomed, and it's a collective. So what we do at Still Life, basically, figure models are brought in, male and female. There are sketch artists, painters, sculptors, and every kind of visual art expression you could imagine, from photography to even video, where we all come in and we look at the scene and we try to articulate that scene along our own personal vision. And you would be surprised at how many different ways the same setting can be shown. And if you follow all the photographers and artists from that setting, you can see some pretty amazing work.
Dude, I mean, without a doubt, man. I mean, just even looking at some of your work, man, I noticed, man, I mean, you're shooting from different perspectives. You're shooting behind the model, on top of the model, below the model, man. It's just amazing work, man. So I got to give you your props on that,
Thank
man.
you, Taj.
We don't give each other enough props in our community, man. But
if you read my captions, you'll see me shout out and give credit to or recognize my photographer brothers and sisters.
yeah,
And what I've been telling them, we've learned how to compete, but have we really learned how to collaborate? I'm really not in competition with them. They have their own style. I have my own style. All of us can get better, and none of us have to be compromised. So that's kind of how we do it, and that's kind of how we drive each other. We look at each other's work, and we let each other know when we see, man, or a lady, man, that is getting good. Or you need to put that camera down. You're getting too good. I don't need that kind of competition. That kind of.
right. I know that in the process of researching, man, I know that your work has been featured on T-shirts.
Yeah.
And you're working on, if I'm not mistaken, 2 books. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Can you tell us about those books?
Yeah. So the first book is a still life, kind of an ode to still life. And what I did was, if you imagine every Wednesday evening, or almost every Wednesday evening, at least 3 times a month, we have these sessions, and every session I probably shoot 200 to 300 images. And then I code that down to the 10 or so that I really, really like, that I work on a bit, and share them with the public. Well, you do that for 2 years, and I have quite a body of work that I think deserves to be seen on a canvas a little larger than an iPhone. And so I talked to the organizers about my concept of doing a book, and I talked around it. And eventually, Tom Best, again, one of the organizers, looked at me. He said, "Dude, where's the book?" And I was like, okay. So I basically sat down. I also reached out to another buddy of mine, another mentor of mine, Richard White of Row House. He's a designer, musician, artist, photographer, all those things as well. Yeah. And anyway, so he gave me a couple of places to go with the book, and I basically sat down for a few days, came up with a bit of a flow, put that book together, and I produced 2 copies. I took the first copy by the Still Life crew to get their reaction, and the reaction was pretty strong. So that's going to be definitely the first book project. The second one really is related, and one of the young ladies I met at Still Life, her name is Cherie. She goes by Attunement, because she has a healing service and other consultancies that she does. But anyway, so it was something magical about the way she was posing. I mean, at every session, she would come in and it would just almost like be jaw-dropping, and everybody reacted to it. And then, a couple of shots I got of her, I shared them with her. She liked them. And then I just walked up to her one day and I told her I had an idea for a project. And I said, "I think you would be amazing for that project. And would you consider doing it?" And she said, yes. And basically, it's going to be a very similar thing to what the Still Life sessions are, but we'll actually be in control of every scene, every pose, all the lighting, etc. And we've been working on it for about a little over 6 months now.
Dude, that's so dope, man. I love that. I love that. And just going back a bit, man. I know several people that are in the film industry. I guess we all do. And, one of the things, man, that has really made a big impact on me personally in the last 5 or 6 years was when, first of all, we're on TV now more than we ever have been. You remember, I think we roughly the same age or thereabouts. You remember when we were growing up, man, we had, the shows from the 70s, and then Cosby Show,
Yeah.
Different World,
Yeah.
Living Single, and Living Color, that type of stuff. But now they have like 20, 30 shows out. But in particular, man, Ava DuVernay's shows, Queen Sugar, was shot so beautifully, man. Just how it was shot. And one of my actress friends was explaining to me, and just comparatively speaking, did you watch Queen Sugar?
I did not.
Okay,
I did
so
not. I don't watch a lot of television. I just don't have the time.
got it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at any rate, there's an actress on there that was also on True Blood.
Okay.
On True Blood, the way they shot her was just really flat. It didn't have a lot of dimensions. But on Queen Sugar, the way Ava shot her was gorgeous. And
Nice.
so and so my friend told me, she was like, the difference is we have black cinematographers
Yep.
and black photographers that understand the nuance of black skin.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Because you know what I'm saying, Mark. If you grew up like we did, man, you can look at somebody, and as a black person, you can tell the infinite shades, the shade below the surface.
Yeah. Yeah.
You might see somebody that's relatively fair skinned with a red tone underneath
Yeah.
it, a darker tone. You know what I'm saying?
I do. I do.
And,
Exactly.
but I see that in your work. You know
Thank
what I'm
you.
saying? I see that your work honors, the texture and the tone of skin, and illuminates those things, man.
I appreciate you saying that. I have to say, I had one model client. Her name is Casey. She looked at me, a very beautiful woman. She was like, "I do not want my face super retouched." I said, "Okay, no problem."
Yeah.
That wasn't what I was getting from a lot of clients. A lot of clients wanted themselves to be turned into plastic figurines, and I stopped doing that. I stopped, putting that polished look on skin, and just tried to light it and shoot it that way so that it would look as good as possible in camera. Back in the film days, the color profile of Fujifilm was a little bit better for our skin tones because they had a green undertone to it. They really
Okay.
worked with black skin.
Okay.
Whereas Kodak and some of the other film stocks were much more red and orange tone to them. And so they made us look different. So to your point, having the director of photography or cinematographer can really make a difference. And shout out to Elijah. He's a buddy of mine who's a cinematographer, or I should say photographer. He's a still photographer on many, many sets of almost every major film you see,
Okay.
almost every major television production you see. He is the still photographer on that set. And he and I met riding bikes with the Dope Peddlers. That's how I met him.
Okay. Um, Man, I mean, you live multiple lives, man. I see that you're into cycling.
Yep.
As am I. What kind of bike you got?
So I built a custom bike with my main bike that I used to ride. I haven't ridden very much since COVID, really. Was a red Cervelo style bike. It was a single speed track bike with a really, really tight wheelbase, nice wide handlebars. We started, my first bike was a Fuji road bike.
Mm-hmm.
And when I first started riding the Dope Peddlers back in 2017, I was the only guy on a road bike. Everybody else was on mountain bikes and other stuff. And they were
Yeah.
like, "Man, you're a big guy. What are you doing on those skinny tires?" I was like, "I see you guys at the top of the hill." And then
Right.
now everybody rides road bikes, and a lot of people have the track bikes. We like the track bikes because we like the control of single speed. We like the challenge of single speed, and honestly, you can really roll on a single speed bike. And if you ride fixed gear, you're really taking it to another level.
Okay. Okay. Wow, man. Tell me about the Dope Peddlers, man. Because when I was going through your work today, I discovered the Dope Peddlers. Who
Yes,
are the
sir.
Dope Peddlers, bro?
So the Dope Peddlers was started by a guy named Jay Reed. Shout out to Jay Reed and all my Dope Peddler family.
What up, Jay Reed?
And yeah, Jay Reed is a big deal, man. He came out of North Carolina A&T, was part of Bad Boy Productions and their promotion team. When I first joined the Dope Peddlers, we would ride around on Sunday evenings. And I don't know if you remember, but back in the day, Sunday evening was a strong party night in Atlanta. So we would start riding at 6 o'clock in the evening. and or 7 o'clock in the evening and show up at all of these places. And every place we rode up to, everybody would just go nuts because Jay showed up first.
Yeah.
Second, Jay showed up on a bicycle with 30 of his closest friends.
Yeah.
And so we would ride around. And then, that was when we first got started, or at least when I first got started with them. But it's a great collective group. I mean, we have all types of people, all walks of life. And, one thing about bicycling or cycling, I should say, is democratizing, because I don't care who you are. You still got to pedal to the top of the hill. I don't care how much money you have. I don't care who your father is. I don't care what family you come from. I'll see you at the top of the hill. And
No
if you
doubt.
can get there on your own, great. If you can't, somebody will support you. I was so tired on one ride. This was before Dope Peddlers. A buddy of mine put his hand on my back and pushed me up a hill. I couldn't believe it. First, I felt emasculated. Second, I felt appreciative. And then on a couple of rides, I've had to do the same for some friends who came out. And, we're overwhelmed by the challenge because we would ride 30 miles around the city at night at a pretty fast clip.
Oh, okay. Y'all roll.
Oh, absolutely.
Do y'all change up the circuit week to week, or
It
like
all
how does it
depends
go?
on who's leading the ride. Yeah, there are some places we ride, of course, along the belt line, but we also ride a lot in the street, and that's one reason why we ride in a group, because it's a little safer to ride in a group than it is to ride by yourself. Because these Atlanta drivers are challenging, and they don't always make room for cyclists. We're supposed to be in the street. Many people think we're supposed to be on the sidewalk. Sidewalks
That's real.
are for pedestrians, not cyclists.
That's real. That's
Mm-hmm.
real. I noticed we know some of the same people, man. I'm surprised we haven't met before, man. Marcus Pope, who's my boy.
He's my frat brother and my Jackie Robinson Scholar Foundation brother. So we met in school before either of us pledged. And he went to school in Oregon,
Yeah,
but
no
of
doubt.
course I know. And when he came to Atlanta, we were already close. But yeah, that's my guy.
How you know El Mahdi Holly?
Who is this?
El Mahdi Holly is a state rep out of McDonough, Georgia state rep. But he
I may
shouted
not
you out.
recognize the name because that pronunciation doesn't recognize. Doesn't
They
ring a
just
bell for
call him
me.
L. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? But real cool dude. He was my classmate at Morehouse.
Okay.
But he shouted you out the other day, man. So I assume he's familiar with your work. Um,
Oh, okay, okay. So if it was a photographer, he's a photographer now?
no, he's a Georgia state representative.
Okay. Well,
He
no, I don't.
represent he represents McDonough.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
but it's all gravy, man. Where do you see do you your dream career trajectory where photography is concerned? Where do you see yourself evolving to?
Good question. I mean, I'm usually a pretty ambitious person. I imagine if I could get this book project out, both projects out, and get them produced at a level where they could be widely consumed, that would be amazing. Things like the T-shirts that you saw, I'm really just trying to consider what those things could be. I have. It's funny because I have some ideas, but those ideas are so fluid. Every time I think about something, the idea changes a little bit. So at this point, I would really love to maybe have a standalone studio that is not in my basement. Right now I shoot out of my basement, and I also go to some local studios to shoot at, mostly Studio Prime Time. Shout out to Afif. And I used to have a studio out in Alpharetta where I worked out there at Photoplex Studios. Shout out to Mike and the team out there.
Mm-hmm.
But things things kind of having too much overhead is kind of problematic right now. And I pride myself on being a very affordable photographer. My motto really is I'm the best photographer you can afford. Which says a lot. I'm good, but I'm not expensive. And that really meets the need for most of the people in my client base. As far as my goals, again, I just want to keep shooting, keep giving the gift of photography to clients, because what I have found is everyone can benefit from a decent picture of something or some event, something important. It's the gift that never stops having value to anybody in my circle.
Mm-hmm. Are you entirely self-taught?
Yes.
Wow.
Except for Costello, my buddy. Again, now I learned from my photography colleagues. Like I said, we challenge each other. If I have a question about something, I'll reach out to them. Many of them, I try to mentor some guys and help them with their skills. And shout out to them. Mike is one of those people I've taken on as a mentee of sorts, and he and I go back and forth on some things. And he's even shown me some stuff, because at some point we'll get to a point where everybody's learning and everybody's teaching. You know?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mm-hmm.
Shifting gears a little, taste, man. What are some of your favorite movies, man? And that not just your favorite movies, but movies that really exemplify an understanding photographic dynamics in the most artistic sense from your perspective.
Taj, that's a brilliant question, because I will say that as a photographer now, it's almost impossible for me to watch movies that haven't been well directed or well shot. It's irritating.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is Fight Club.
Mm-hmm.
David Fincher is an amazing director to me, and the color palette and the tones of all of his movies are simply gorgeous. You would not know that, of course, they're obviously professionally lit, but it looks like he just stuck a camera in a room with people and started recording behind the scenes. And I love how his movies are lit. Quentin Tarantino, not nearly as cinematic in his lighting, but he knows how to put together a story. He knows how to put together a shot for drama and intrigue. So he's definitely one of my inspirations. You mentioned Gordon Parks already. And those are probably the biggest ones I can call by name. As far as another movie is concerned, what I just recently saw was Top Gun. I just saw the Top Gun sequel, and I was pleasantly surprised by that. I expected it to be cheesy. I expected it to be, a bunch of foolishness, but it was actually pretty well shot. On the documentary side, there's a documentary called the Exterminate All the Brutes.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
The way that guy shot that and how he put that together was so compelling to me, and he told such a brilliant story, and also told some of what this country has dealt and done to folks like us, and really set the tone for that. And that the way he did that, I thought, was courageous first and artistically beautiful.
Oh man, I love that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Your favorite Tarantino film
Probably.
in terms of photography?
Oh, in terms of photography, probably The Hateful Eight.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
In terms of storyline, though, Pulp Fiction, no question. Pulp Fiction was so frustrating to me in the movie. My first experience, I'm a rigid guy, some people might say, and so for him to tell that story out of sequence kind of broke the rules for me in a way that I had not sanctioned. You know what I mean? And when I was telling someone about the movie, I was telling them all the parts I so-called didn't like in vivid detail, with energy and exuberance. And I was like, you know what? I may not even realize how much I like that movie.
Yeah.
Now at this point, I probably end up reciting that movie forever and ever. I mean, it's in my head like you would not believe. On another movie, I really liked The Big Lebowski. I like the Coen brothers.
Come on now, Coen brothers.
The Coen brothers.
Dude, I'm a huge Coen brothers fan, Mark.
Yeah, they are amazing. They are amazing. Farrelly brothers, not too shabby either.
No, not at all.
All of those. So that's the kind of stuff I consume. I have to see. I like character development. I like storyline. I like it to be beautifully shot. And those directors really have done it. I can't believe I didn't mention Big Lebowski. I think the Pulp Fiction reference made it come to mind, because that's one of my favorites.
Hey man, that rug really tied the room together, bro.
This guy has a marmot, man. This aggression will not stand. Absolutely. I mean,
man,
that was too much for me, dude. My wife is probably like, how many times are you gonna watch that movie? I'm like, as many times as I choose. I can't get enough.
The bums will always lose.
And you don't want to mess with the Jesus either, man. So that was definitely well done.
Yeah. What you listening to, bro?
Oh, music. Oh my gosh. Right now, my music tastes are really into a kind of a what I consider an underground R&B. I don't know how underground it is really, but like Lucky
Oh,
Days and the Hicks. I don't know if you know about the Hicks.
no, no.
It's a male. I will
First of
send
all,
them to you. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
can we give a shout out to New Orleans' own Lucky Day? That brother is brilliant, man.
He is
Brilliant,
brilliant, man. He is brilliant.
brilliant. Come on now, Mark.
Yeah. Masego. I like Masego.
Oh, dope,
Um,
brilliant too.
yeah, I like some LMA. I like Janae
Woo.
Aiko. I like her, of course.
Mm-hmm.
Sabrina Claudio.
All right,
Um,
tell me about the Hicks and Sabrina Cloudy. I don't know them.
woo wee. All right, so Sabrina Claudio, she really sings this. Well, the weekend. Let me go back. Let me go to the weekend because I think the weekend really set the stage for a lot of this sound that I'm describing. The weekend's first project was a House of Balloons, I think it was. He did the soundtrack for one of the HBO series back in the day. What was Entourage? Their second season, and they did that. That one of the songs for introducing the second season. And as soon as I heard that melody, I said, "Who in the world is that?" And I looked up the lyric that I heard, and I stumbled upon this album. Didn't have a face to it. It was just a YouTube stream, and I was like, "This is amazing." And I became a huge Weekend fan. Well, from there, you get the whole OVO sound. You get DVSN or Division. You get what's the guy's name? Party Next Door.
Yeah,
That whole sound. I loved all of that sound. And then out of that, you get Masego and you get some of those others that I think really Elijah Blake, Xavier, Omar, all of those guys, the internet, I think they're, basically taking that acoustic sound and taking it to the next level.
dude. First of all, huge Entourage fan, but I would not have thought that the weekend was even around
Yeah, man.
when Entourage, because Entourage, man. I was living in Arizona I mean, we talking pre 2010,
Yeah, yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I mean, Entourage, what, 05 to like 10, something like that, bro?
Yep. Even before that. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
so, so he been grinding a long time, man.
absolutely. It was a long time before you can even know what he looked like because all he would put out was an album cover and just play the song on YouTube, and that was it.
Okay. The Hicks.
Okay, the Hicks, I just discovered them in the last month or so. I have a friend and a shooting client that I work with. She sent me that as a group because again, I love, Tim's, the young lady who sings
Hmm.
on that Future song.
Jamaican
Man,
sister. Yeah, she
I
cold. She
I
cold.
love her sound. Oh my gosh. But anyway, yeah, the Hicks, they have this really melodic, and their lyrics, dude, are almost like a movie script that's well written. So it's a mostly a two-part harmony with a really really deep poetic lyric over a beautiful sound, and then she has her sound, he has his baritone sound, and then they sing almost like unison at two levels, and it's just gorgeous to me. I'll send it to you, and you let me know what you think about it.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt.
Hmm.
I have Mark. I have a practice when I interview people, man. Whether they recommend a book or whether they recommend a song, I run it as a story. You know
Okay.
what I'm saying? What is the name of the Hick of an emblematic Hick song that you want to expose people to?
My favorite is the first song off their new EP. It's called "Caught in a Lie."
Caught in a Lie.
Hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna run that.
Man,
Um, um,
gorgeous.
do you have if you had to recommend two books, what would you recommend?
All right, so I'm a ferocious reader, um, and depending on what you want that person to know, two of the books that I probably have been the most impacted by most recently have been one by Ibram X Kendi, the Stamp from the Beginning,
Okay.
in a very similar way of the Exterminate All the Brutes. This tells a history of the idea and the concept of racism in the Western world, and especially obviously as we get to America. And honestly, dude, he tells the whole story from the beginning, on what was happening in New England, what was happening in Europe, and how people fixed their mouths to say things like, people that look like us should be removed from the planet and or put in servitude. And for those of us who grew up, especially in the 70s and 80s, we were introduced to some of the so-called history. We got our Malcolm X, this, that, and the other. But we were trying to solve the problem. And what I like about these other works is they talk about the origin. The other work, I'm gonna give you three because I honestly find it difficult to limit it.
Hey, give me both.
There's another book
by the science.
Yeah, there's another book by a gentleman who just recently passed away. His name is Thich Nhat Hanh. He was a Vietnamese Buddhist monk, and he wrote a book, several books, but the book I discovered him through was called The Art of Communicating. And because of some of the work I do across the country, I have to work with people who don't work for me. I have to encourage them to do certain things. And so I was reading it almost for tools. And what I learned from it, though, was really about concepts of mindfulness, concepts of being present, concepts of compassion. And he has two premises. One is deep listening. So when you're talking to someone, listening deeply so you can really connect with them. That's a part of being present. The second part is loving speech. When you have something to say to them, say it in the most loving, compassionate way possible. And honestly, dude, I didn't understand what the guy was saying the first few times. I listened to the audiobook and I was just like, yeah, whatever. What is this guy talking about? Because he was talking about breathing and connecting with your breathing and blah, blah, blah. My thinking was so Western, I couldn't consume what he had to offer. And it was through mentoring another person that I was finding myself, again, echoing some of the things I heard him say. Then it hit me. And then I listened to and read the book again, and honestly changed my outlook on a lot of things. Brilliant, brilliant man. He just passed away. He's one of the reasons why Martin Luther King got the Nobel Peace Prize, because he nominated Martin Luther King. He and King were contemporaries, and King was against the Vietnam War because of Thich Nhat Hanh. These guys were so in tune with themselves that they could light themselves on fire in protest and not get up and run. They would sit there and burn to death. And, of course, that's pretty dramatic. And that's how they used to protest the war. And that is what inspired King to be against the Vietnam War.
All right.
The last one is a book by, I can't remember this guy's name. It'll come to me as I talk. But it's called The Righteous Mind. And it's why people are divided by politics and religion. And, again, in the world we're living in, we live in a world where clearly everything seems to be on a political, if you want to call it racial or other kinds of line. And he really talks about what it's like, for us as human beings to be in a group, to look at another group that we see as different and how we react to that group. A lot of our so-called political, they're called beliefs, because they match a lot of the ways that we think about our religious beliefs. You can't really convince a Muslim that they're not Muslim by telling them about Christianity. It's just not going to work, and so you're not going to convince a Republican to be a Democrat by talking about democratic policies. It just will not work. And so some of that is in that writing. So those are probably the three I would recommend.
My brother, I did not know that when I invited you on for an interview that I was going to get a philosopher academic masquerading as a photographer. I feel like I've been sitting up and, bro, I feel like I need to go to financial aid and have to cut you a check, bro.
Stop it, man. Stop it.
No doubt, man. You dropping science, bro. In closing, if you had, I'm going to give you the floor, man. What do you have to say, man, to inspire people, man? Perhaps there are some people on here that are coming up behind you that would like to go into photography or would like to improve their mind, man. Do you have an encouraging word or what would you say?
Oh, I would say the best camera you have is the camera in your hand or the closest camera that you have to you. So if it's your phone, there's nothing wrong with that camera phone. You can definitely get some amazing images out of it. So don't limit yourself by equipment first. Second, take chances, really experiment with what you do. Be inspired by others. Take what they give you and mix it with some of what you are and what you have to offer, and bring something different to the table. Present it to the world and see what the reaction is like. Some people may like it and some people may not. But if you like it, share it and be proud of it. But I think social media makes us almost post for likes. And then you end up only being liked when you're popular. And I would discourage them from chasing likes. Chase their own value. And if the rest of the world likes it, great. If they don't, then they're missing out, because you're probably bringing something pretty decent to the table. But take chances and don't limit yourself to your equipment. It is not the camera. It's the person with the camera that makes the image. No one compliments the stove when people get good tasting food. And so don't compliment my camera when you get a nice picture. The camera didn't do it. I did it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. That's the final word from the great Mark Lee, my
Thank you,
favorite
Taj.
in Atlanta. Mark Lee. Follow this brother at Mark Lee Photo. I'm going to be posting the books that he recommended, in addition to the song by the Hicks that he recommended. And as he stated, I believe that if you visit his page, you'll find value from a variety of perspectives. I love your family photos too, bro.
Thank you,
I mean,
sir.
I was really touched by the photo of the pregnant sister and the brother, the kid on the man's shoulders,
Yeah,
kissing
yeah,
his
yeah.
mama, and him kissing the dude.
That's one of my academic babies. So I met that young lady as she was a student, and have helped, kind of support her through her medical school education. She's now a family medicine doc on the east side. She lives on the west side, but she works on the east side. But she's an Atlanta native, and she was starting a family. And my support doesn't end when you graduate. If you don't mind me supporting your family as you grow, by all means. So I'm here to support her family as well. And so my wife and I and our families are very, very close.
I love that, bro.
Mm-hmm.
Well, listen, man, you have a blessed holiday
You
weekend.
too. And thank you again, Taj. I mean, I don't know if people realize what you do, but what you're doing is you're looking around trying to recognize excellence as you see it, and you're trying to give it a platform, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank
Because
you.
you come on and you shout and you cheer other people on. You're not cheering for yourself. You're cheering for other people. And we need a lot more of that in our community. And I appreciate you for that, sir.
I appreciate that, brother. Mark Lee, y'all. Have a wonderful weekend, Mark, and everybody that tuned in. Have a wonderful holiday weekend and be safe out there.
All right. Thank you, man.
All right, man. Peace.